Imagine discovering that your sudden burst of anger this morning, or, that overwhelming feeling of lethargy you had yesterday, wasn't actually your personality.
Right, like it wasn't just you having a bad day.
Exactly. Imagine that those feelings weren't just random psychological blips, but the direct mathematical influence of a red celestial warrior positioned in a microscopic 13-degree slice of the night sky.
It is honestly a radical way to look at human consciousness.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes the deeply personal and makes it entirely cosmic.
Right. And usually when we look up at the stars, we just see this, random, beautiful scattering of light.
Yeah, just empty space and glowing dots.
But today, we are completely flipping that perspective. We are taking a deep dive into the source materials detailing Vedic astrology, specifically a profoundly intricate system known as Jyotish.
Mm-hmm. And our focus today is on Part 3, Nakshatras and the 9 planets.
Yeah, and our mission for you listening right now is to demystify this architectural grid of the cosmos. Because by the time we finish, you are going to see the night sky not as empty space, but as a meticulously organized cosmic clock.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And the hands of that clock are the 9 Grahas, or what we commonly translate to planets.
Mm-hmm.
But in this system, they are not just floating rocks in a vacuum.
Not at all.
No, they are living, breathing archetypes. They have highly specific psychological profiles. They prefer certain wardrobes.
Which is wild.
It is. They have favorite tastes in food, and they're even mapped directly to the avatars of the divine.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we are going to navigate through an incredible classification matrix. I mean, the source material links these planets to Ayurvedic medicine, to cosmic states of being, to gemstones, and to human physiology.
It's a massive web.
It really is. We're going to build a completely different framework for how you understand the diverse, sometimes contradictory energies operating in your own life. But to do that, I feel like we can't just start throwing planets around.
Right. You need the context first.
Yeah, we need to understand the real estate they occupy first.
That is the perfect place to start. Because before you meet the actors, you have to understand the stage. And in Jyotish, that stage is called the Bachakra.
The Bachakra.
Yeah, it is the fundamental foundational math of the zodiac.
So let's start wide. We have the 360-degree zodiac belt around the Earth. And I think most people are familiar with the idea that this belt is divided into 12 signs.
Yeah.
Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and so on.
Yes. And from a strictly mathematical standpoint, if you divide 360 degrees by 12, each sign gets exactly 30 degrees of spatial real estate.
Okay, 30 degrees each.
Right. Aries gets 30 degrees, Taurus gets 30 degrees all the way to Pisces. That is your macro grid.
Okay, but the source material immediately zooms in past those 30-degree signs and introduces these things called nakshatras, or lunar mansions.
Yes, the lunar mansions.
So if the 12 signs are the states of the zodiac, are the nakshatras the cities or neighborhoods within those states?
That is exactly how you should think about them. The nakshatras provide a much higher level of microscopic precision. The 360-degree zodiac is divided into 27 nakshatras.
Right, and I was trying to do the math on this while reading the sources. If you divide 360 by 27, it doesn't give you a perfectly clean whole number.
No, it gives you 13.333 repeating.
Right.
But in astrological degrees and minutes, that translates to exactly 13 degrees and 20 minutes. So one nakshatra, one neighborhood, spans a distance of 13 degrees and 20 minutes.
Okay, so within one 30-degree state, you have more than one neighborhood.
You do, and we can zoom in even further, which is where the math really becomes elegant.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, each of these 27 nakshatras is divided into 4 smaller sections called padas, or charans.
The text translates charans to footsteps, right?
Yes, footsteps, which I think is a beautiful metaphor for a planet walking through the sky.
I love that.
So if one nakshatra is 13 degrees and 20 minutes, and you divide it by 4 footsteps, each footstep is exactly 3 degrees and 20 minutes.
Okay, I want to make sure you listening can truly visualize this, because it threw me for a loop at first.
It's a lot of numbers.
It is. So imagine a ruler that is exactly 30 inches long. That 30-inch ruler is your zodiac sign, let's say, Aries. Now, the nakshatras are markings on that ruler every 13.2 inches.
Right.
So you measure out 13.2 inches, that's your first neighborhood. You measure out another 13.2 inches, that's your second neighborhood. You are now at 26.4 inches.
Exactly.
But you still have a little bit of the ruler left to get to 30.
You have enough room for one final footstep of 3.2 inches. If you count them up, It takes exactly 9 of those 3-degree and 20-minute footsteps to completely fill one 30-degree sign.
9 footsteps per sign. Okay, have the grid in my head. But why does this microscopic math matter? Like, why can't we just say a planet is in Aries and be done with it?
Because the nakshatras act as atmospheric filters. And this is governed by something called the Vimshottari Dasha system.
Right, here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, the source material links each specific nakshatra to a specific planetary lord.
So a planet isn't just traveling through the empty space of Aries, it's traveling through a neighborhood owned by someone else.
Well, precisely. Let's build on your analogy. Imagine the planet traveling through the sky is a pure white light bulb. But the nakshatra it is passing through is a pane of colored stained glass.
Oh, I like that.
If the neighborhood belongs to a fiery, aggressive planet, that stained glass is red. The light shining into your life from that planet will be tinted red.
Okay, I see.
But if it passes into the next neighborhood, which maybe is owned by a planet of luxury, the glass might turn pink or gold. The light changes completely.
That makes so much sense. The neighborhood filters the planet. And looking at the table provided in the sources, the sequence of who owns which neighborhood is incredibly strict.
Very strict.
It organizes everything by fire, earth, air, and water signs.
It is an unbroken cyclical pattern.
Okay.
So let's look at the fire signs: Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius.
Okay.
The very first nakshatra in any fire sign, the first 13 degrees and 20 minutes, is always ruled by Ketu.
Always.
Always. In Aries, that neighborhood is called Ashwini. In Leo, it's Magha. In Sagittarius, it's Mula.
Now, the sources say Ketu's Dasha, or time period, is 7 years. What does that actually mean in this context?
So the Vimshottari Dasha system is a predictive timeline. It totals 120 years, which in ancient times was considered the ideal maximum lifespan of a human being.
Wow, 120 years.
Yeah, the system assumes you will experience the influence of all these planetary lords over the course of your life. If you're born when the moon is in Ketu's neighborhood, the first 7 years of your life will be heavily colored by Ketu's energy.
Okay, so that's the first neighborhood in a fire sign. What happens when we move to the next 13 degrees and 20 minutes?
Immediately following Ketu in those fire signs, you enter a nakshatra ruled by Venus.
Okay.
That's Bharani in Aries, Purfalguni in Leo, and Purvashada in Sagittarius. And Venus governs a massive 20-year period in that 120-year lifespan.
That is a huge chunk of time. So we've used up 2 full nakshatras, that's 8 footsteps. We only have 1 footstep left in that 30-degree fire sign. Who owns that final sliver?
That final footstep, spanning from 26 degrees and 40 minutes to exactly 30 degrees, belongs to a nakshatra ruled by the sun, and the sun's dasha is 6 years.
But wait, a nakshatra is 4 footsteps? If we only use 1 footstep in the fire sign to reach the 30-degree border, what happens to the other 3 footsteps of that sun-ruled nakshatra? Do they just vanish?
Not at all. They spill right over the border into the next sign.
Oh.
This is why the system is so continuous. The earth signs Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn pick up exactly where the fire signs left off. They start with the remaining 3 footsteps of those sun-ruled nakshatras.
Ah, so it's a completely overlapping tapestry.
Exactly.
Once that sun-ruled neighborhood finally finishes in the earth sign, the next full nakshatra goes to the moon, which the text says has a 10-year dasha.
Correct.
And then the earth signs finish up with the first 2 footsteps of a Mars-ruled nakshatra, which is a 7-year dasha.
And the pattern just continues. The air signs Gemini, Libra, Aquarius start with the remaining 2 footsteps of Mars. Then they get a full nakshatra ruled by Rahu with an 18-year dasha. Then they finish with 3 footsteps of Jupiter, carrying a 16-year dasha.
Which means the water signs Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces have to start with the final leftover footstep of Jupiter.
You got it.
Then they get a full Saturn-ruled nakshatra for a 19-year dasha. And finally, they close out the water signs and the entire zodiac loop with a full, perfectly fitting 4-footstep nakshatra ruled by Mercury, carrying a 17-year dasha.
Exactly. When Mercury finishes, you are at exactly 360 degrees. The cycle is complete and starts all over again with Ketu in the fire signs.
The precision is mind-blowing. But all this math only matters if we know who these planets actually are. I mean, we know they act as filters, the stained glass.
Right.
But what are the colors? What are the psychological profiles of these planetary lords?
Well, to understand that, we need a conceptual through line. I find it most helpful to look at these 9 grahas as the essential ingredients required to build a human life.
I like that. So where does life begin? Let's look at the luminaries, right? The massive bodies that command our day and night, the sun and the moon.
Right. In Jyotish, the sun is Surya. And the architecture of a human life, the sun is the absolute beginning. It represents the soul. It is the king and the father.
I was reading the physical and psychological profiles in the source material, and they are so granular. It describes the sun as having honey-colored eyes, a square body, and limited hair.
Yes.
They are clean, they wear saffron-colored robes, and they have a majestic voice. But why? Like, why a square body and limited hair?
Because every physical description here is a metaphor for a psychological reality.
Oh, interesting.
Think about what a square represents. It is structurally sound, it is immovable, it is equal resolute sides. The sun is the king on his throne, he does not waver.
Okay, that makes sense. And the hair.
The limited hair is fascinating, actually. In ancient textual contexts, excessive hair was often associated with an animalistic nature, raw, untamed vitality, or the wilderness.
Like a wild beast.
Exactly. But the sun is highly refined, authoritative, and purely focused on higher consciousness. He doesn't need wild hair, he wears a crown.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
The text also says the sun awakens a thirst for spiritual life and divine knowledge, which it calls Gana.
Yes, Kata.
And to back that up, it maps all these planets to a massive classification matrix. For the sun, it says its guna is sattva. We're going to see these gunas a lot. What exactly is a guna, and what does sattva mean?
The gunas are the three fundamental operating principles of the universe. Sattva is the quality of purity, light, equilibrium, and truth.
So it's the highest, most pure state.
Right. The sun is pure sattva because the soul, in its truest form, is uncorrupted.
Okay, so the soul is pure. Moving down the matrix, it rules the east direction, which obviously aligns with the sunrise.
Right, where the light begins.
Its caste is kshatriya, which the text translates as the warrior or ruling class.
Which, again, aligns with the king archetype. The sun takes responsibility. It leads.
But then we get into Ayurveda, the traditional Indian system of medicine. The text says the sun governs Pitta. What is Pitta, and how does the sun manifest in our actual physical bodies?
Ayurveda categorizes the body's constitution into three doshas. Vata, which is wind, Pitta, which is bile or fire, and Kapha, which is phlegm or earth and water.
Okay.
Pitta is the fiery metabolic energy. It's what digests our food and our experiences. The sun, being the literal source of heat for our solar system, naturally governs Pitta.
That's a very direct connection.
Yeah, and in the physical body, the text assigns the sun to the stomach, the bones, the heart, and specifically the right eye.
The right eye. Why specifically the right?
The right side, in many esoteric traditions, is the masculine, solar, active side of the body. It projects outward into the world.
Wow. The matrix even gives it a taste. Bitter. And a metal. Copper. Why bitter, though?
Think about what bitter herbs do in herbal medicine.
Like they cleanse you?
Exactly. They
Yeah.
cleanse the liver, they purify the blood. The sun's energy is purifying. It burns away impurities to reveal the truth of the soul.
That connects beautifully to the avatar mapping. The source material links the sun to the Ram avatar of Vishnu and also identifies it with the deity Shiva.
Ram is the quintessential avatar for the sun. In the ancient epics, Ram represents the ideal king.
Right.
He embodies righteous authority and adheres to his duty, his dharma, above all personal desires. He is willing to sacrifice everything for what is right. That is the sun, the soul's unwavering commitment to truth.
So if the sun is the unwavering soul arriving to start a human life, what is the moon, Chandra?
If the sun is the soul, the moon is the mind. You have a soul, but now you need a consciousness to perceive the world, to feel emotions.
Well, the physical description of the moon is a complete 180 from the sun. Where the sun is square and bald, the text describes the moon as having an auspicious appearance, a round and cold body, beautiful eyes, and being extremely youthful.
Very different energy.
Yeah, they have sweet speech, but, and this is a big one, they are fickle-minded.
Fickle-minded because the moon represents our fluctuating mental faculties, our moods, our imagination. Just look at the night sky.
Right? It's always changing.
Exactly. The sun is always a perfect circle of blinding light. But the moon, it changes shape every single night. It waxes, it wanes, it disappears entirely. It is never the same.
And it represents the queen and the mother. The matrix says its guna is also sattva, pure like the sun, but its caste is Vaishya, the merchant or agricultural class.
The Vaishya class is about nourishment, exchange, and growth. This connects perfectly to the moon's associations.
Like what?
Well, the text lists its products as new, rice, milk, pearls, and the travel industry. It's about the flow of life, nurturing the community.
Medically, it governs cough, which is the phlegm and body fluids, as well as the lungs and chest. And it governs the left eye, balancing the sun's right eye.
Yes, the receptive side.
Its color is white, and its taste is salty.
Salty is deeply poetic. The moon's gravity rules the tides of the salty ocean. And internally, the moon rules our salty tears, our emotional responses to the world.
I love that. And here's a detail I wanted to ask you about. The text explicitly states that the moon rules 16 art forms, or kalas. Why 16?
The 16 kalas represent the different phases or digits of the moon from new to full. In a broader psychological sense, they represent the foundational emotional expressions of the human mind.
So it's like a complete emotional spectrum.
Right. The moon provides the raw material of creativity and feeling.
Which brings us to its avatar mapping. The moon aligns with the Krishna avatar and the goddesses Durga and Parvati. How does Krishna compare to Ram?
It is a brilliant contrast. Ram, the sun, is the rigid, perfect king of duty. He does what he must.
Right.
Krishna, the moon, is playful, deeply emotional, romantic, and connected to music. Krishna adapts to whatever the situation requires. He uses diplomacy, trickery, charm, and love.
So they balance each other out.
Exactly. If you connect this to the bigger picture, the sun's the unwavering soul, while the moon is the fluctuating, beautifully fickle mind. You need both to be a human being.
Okay, so we have a soul and we have a mind, but a soul and a mind sitting in a room together don't actually do anything. They need agency.
Yes, they need a way to act.
Which brings us to the inner circle of the planetary court. Mars, Mercury, and Venus. The planets that govern our daily actions, our intellect, and our worldly desires.
Let's begin with action. If we are building a human life, this is the toddler phase, the development of ego, boundaries, and instinctual defense. This is Mars, or Mangal, the army chief.
I have to say, I was reading the source text on Mars, and it got surprisingly intense.
It's very vivid.
It really is. It describes Mars as having blood-red eyes, a thin waist, a thin but strong physique. It says it is bright as burning fire, and specifically mentions it has marrow in bones and flesh, and then it says it's connected to lizards, cats, tigers, and violent animals.
Yeah.
What is the connection there? Why lizards?
It is intense, because Mars is raw, penetrative energy. It is called Bhumisudo, which translates to the child of the earth. When the text mentions lizards and tigers, it is pointing to our primitive survival instincts, the reptilian brain.
Ah, the reptilian brain, that makes sense.
Mars is the predator and the defender. Psychologically, it represents our courage and determination, but also our anger, our ability to wound, and our capacity for violence.
Like the surge of adrenaline when someone cuts you off in traffic.
Exactly. Or the surge of adrenaline when you need to lift a heavy object to save someone. It is pure blind force.
And its guna reflects that. The Matrix says Mars is tamasic. We talked about sattva being purity. What is tamas?
Tamas is the quality of inertia, ignorance, and darkness. But in a practical sense, it is raw, instinctual force. It is destructive energy.
Destructive.
Yeah, but necessary destruction. You need tamas to tear down old muscles to build new ones. You need tamas to fight a war to protect your home.
Which makes sense why it rules the south direction, the Kshatriya warrior caste, and spicy tastes.
Yes.
Medically, it is pitta like the sun, but it governs bile, blood marrow, and the muscular system.
Right, because the sun's pitta is the heat of digestion and vitality. Mars' pitta is the heat of a fever or an inflamed wound. Yeah, the text also associates it with weapons, electrical appliances, and accidents involving fire. Its metal is coral, and its grain is burnt mazur.
Burnt. Even its food is subjected to violent heat. And the avatar mapping is terrifyingly perfect. It maps to Narjima.
Narjima is the fierce, terrifying half-man, half-lion avatar of Vishnu. He appears specifically to kill a demon that could not be killed by man or beast, day or night.
So it finds a loophole.
Yes. Narjima protects his devotees with extreme violence. Mars is that protective rage.
So if Mars is pure action, defense, and rage, how does the kingdom avoid just burning itself to the ground? I mean, the toddler can't just throw tantrums forever.
Right, you need a regulatory system.
We need logic. We need communication. Which brings us to the library. Mercury, or Buddha, the prince of intellect.
The great communicator, the child learning to speak and negotiate.
The physical description here is incredibly refreshing after the blood-red eyes of Mars.
A lot calmer.
Yeah, Mercury has an attractive physique, broad reddish eyes, sweet speech, and a complexion like green grass. They wear green robes and have a capacity to use words with meaning.
Mercury is the intellect, logic, data, and communication. It governs math, grammar, journalism, computer systems, and actually astrology itself.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the prince because it's youthful, adaptable, and playful. The text specifically notes a fondness for jokes,
In the matrix, its guna is rajasic. So we have sattva, which is purity, tamas, which is inertia, what is rajas?
Rajas is the quality of passion, action, movement, and desire. It is the kinetic energy that gets things done in the material world. Mercury needs to constantly move, gather data, and share it.
The text says it rules sweet and sour tastes. That seems like a strange combination.
Not if you think about communication. Sweet speech is pleasant and brings people in. Sour speech makes you salivate, it wakes you up, it provokes a reaction.
Oh, wow, that is so clever.
A good communicator, a good journalist or comedian knows how to use both.
Hold on, I want to ask about the medical side of Mercury because the source material threw me here. It says Mercury is tridosha. It encompasses all three doshas: phlegm, bile, and wind.
Yes, all three.
If it's all three at once, doesn't that just make it pure chaos? How does that translate to being the planet of intellect?
That is a brilliant question. It's not chaos, it is omnipresence. Mercury rules the nervous system, the ENT system, and the skin.
Right.
The nervous system connects and regulates everything in the body. It carries the heat of Pitta, the movement of Vata, and it rests in the structure of Kapha. Just as communication connects every single class of people in a society, the nervous system has to be adaptable to all environments in the body.
Wow. Adaptability is the key.
Exactly.
The text also maps it to the Buddha avatar, emphasizing intellect, and its grain is water-soaked moon.
I just love how specific that texture is,
Yeah.
water-soaked.
Well, think about it. What does a water-soaked seed do?
It grows.
It is ready to sprout instantly. It represents pure, fertile potential, just like a quick, adaptable intellect ready to grasp a new concept. Okay, so we have the soul, the mind, our protective Mars instincts, and our logical Mercury intellect. But what makes life beautiful? Like, what drives us to connect deeply with others?
That transitions us to the final member of this inner circle, Venus or Shukra, the splendorous minister.
The splendorous minister. Venus sounds like an absolute movie star in the text.
Very glamorous.
A charming and splendorous physique, curly hair, long hands, a broad chest, and wearing multicolored or variegated robes. The text says Venus is a poet and is highly sensuous.
Venus is diplomacy, beauty, and the ultimate enjoyment of the material world. It's the adult-seeking partnership.
Here is a massive contrast I noticed. We talked about how the moon rules 16 art forms. The text says Venus rules a staggering 64 art forms. Why the massive upgrade?
Because the moon represents the raw, internal, emotional capacity. The 16 kalas are how you feel.
Right.
Venus represents the external, mastered manifestation of those feelings into the material world. Venus takes the raw emotion of the moon and turns it into a symphony, a beautifully tailored garment, or a stunning piece of cinema.
Oh, so it's the execution of the art.
Yes, it governs beauty parlors, modeling, perfumes, and diamonds.
In the Matrix, Venus is also Rajasic, driven by passion and movement like Mercury. It rules the southeast direction. But medically, it governs Kaph and Vat phlegm and wind. And specifically, the text says it is the planet of semen, the ovaries, the reproductive system, and eyesight.
Yes, it is the creative, generative life force. It is the drive to reproduce, to merge with another, to create something beautiful that outlasts you.
The avatar mapping is interesting. It mentions Parsuram, but its primary deities are Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and beauty, and Shiva.
Lakshmi perfectly encapsulates Venus. She represents the highest refinement of the material world, abundance, and grace.
So for you listening, think about this dynamic trio we just covered. When you make a decision in your daily life, you are constantly balancing these three forces. What do you desire? That's Venus pulling you toward comfort or beauty.
Right.
What is the logical way to get it? That's Mercury calculating the steps. And do you have the determination and courage to act on it? That's Mars giving you the push.
They are the active ingredients in the alchemy of our daily lives, but they operate on a personal scale. To understand the grand, sweeping themes of a lifetime, we have to look past the personal planets.
We have to look at the slow-moving heavyweights.
Exactly.
Right. We are leaving the personal desires and intellect behind. We are moving into the realm of philosophy, purpose, and reality. Let's look at Jupiter and Saturn. We'll start with the feast before the fast. Jupiter, or Guru, the minister of wisdom.
If we're building a human life, this is the mature adult. Jupiter is expansion, higher wisdom, and the quintessence of Dharma, doing what is ultimately meaningful and right.
The physical profile of Jupiter is imposing. A big body, tawny hair and eyes, fat with a large belly, a voice that resembles a lion, and a physical complexion akin to yellow metal. They wear yellow apparel.
In our modern culture, we might view a large belly as just being out of shape. But in these ancient texts, a large belly signifies holding immense knowledge, prosperity, and abundance.
Oh, that's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah, Jupiter's the ultimate benefic planet. It represents the guru, the teacher, the banker, and the legal expert.
The text notes that Jupiter is a strict moralist and ethical in conduct, and its matrix connections just scream abundance. It is pure sattvaguna, returning us to the purity of the sun and moon.
Yes, very pure.
It rules the northeast, the Brahmin or priestly caste, and its designated taste is sweet. It literally consumes honey and ghee.
Medically, it rules Kaph, the heavy, stabilizing, nourishing phlegm, and governs the liver, gallbladder, and spleen. Its metals are gold and sapphire, and its grain is recent chana.
Everything about Jupiter is rich, nourishing, and expansive.
Everything.
It's mapped to the Vaman avatar.
Right, the dwarf avatar of Vishnu. In the myth, a demon king had conquered the universe. The dwarf woman asked the king for only 3 pieces of land. The arrogant king agreed.
Thinking it was nothing.
Exactly. But Vama then expanded to cosmic proportions, covering the earth with his first step, the heavens with his second, and for his third step, placed his foot on the king's head, pushing him into the underworld. It represents how true wisdom, humility, and spiritual devotion can overcome any cosmic obstacle. Jupiter doesn't mind making sacrifices for religious causes, because it sees the massive expanding picture.
Okay, so Jupiter is expansion, wisdom, and sweet honey. Which means we must now face the ultimate restriction, Saturn or Shani, the servant of karma.
The contrast here is stark, and it is entirely intentional.
It really is. The text describes Saturn as having red and depressed eyes, an emaciated, weak body with prominent veins, large nails, big teeth, and coarse hair. It is lame, it is dirty, it is short-tempered, and it loves worn-out black clothes or rags.
Prominent veins are key here. Think of someone who is engaged in hard, grueling physical labor their entire life.
They don't have the soft padding of Jupiter.
Exactly. They're worn down to the sinew and the reality of the bone.
I have to push back on this a bit, though. The text says Saturn represents grief, strikes, isolation, insolvency, and natural calamities. If I am listening to this and I realize I am entering a 19-year Saturn Dasha, that sounds incredibly depressing. How is someone supposed to look forward to 19 years of grief and rags?
That is the most common reaction to Saturn. But what's fascinating here is what Saturn actually represents conceptually. The text calls itself abrogation, or tyaga, the denial of oneself.
The death of the ego.
Exactly. Saturn is the reality principle. Jupiter might tell you that you can be anything you want, that the universe is boundless. Saturn taps you on the shoulder and says, you are a mortal in a physical body, you have bills to pay, and time is running out.
Oof, reality check.
A major reality check. Saturn strips away illusion and forces us to confront our limitations. It brings grief because we are attached to our egos and our worldly desires. But if you accept the reality, Saturn gives you unparalleled endurance.
Its guna is tamasic, like Mars. Heavy, grounded, inertial. It rules the West, the Shudra or laboring caste, and pungent tastes.
Medically, it governs Vat and Kaph wind and phlegm, but specifically it governs the legs, the joints, the teeth, and the nails.
Basically the parts of the body that dry out, ache, and decay when we get old.
Yes. Its metal is iron, its grain is sesame, and it's associated with dirty places.
And its avatar is the Kurma, the tortoise.
Which perfectly encapsulates the positive side of Saturn. Slow, enduring, bearing the immense weight of a massive shell on its back and living a very, very long time.
Right.
I would encourage anyone listening to view Saturn not just as a punisher bringing misery, but as the cosmic force of endurance. It is unyielding reality. It gives us the structure, the discipline, and the patience required for mastery over time.
So we built the human life. The soul is the sun, the mind is the moon, instinct is Mars, intellect is Mercury, desire is Venus, wisdom is Jupiter, and reality is Saturn. That covers the 7 physical planets. But there are 2 more entities in this Jyotish system.
Yes.
Shadows, Rahu and Ketu.
These are arguably the most mysterious and psychologically potent forces in the entire matrix. They aren't physical planets.
Right, you can't just look up and see them.
No, you cannot look through a telescope and see Rahu or Ketu. They are mathematical points specifically, the north and south nodes of the moon, which are the exact points in space where eclipses happen.
Where the light is swallowed. Rahu is the north node and Ketu is the south node. Let's start with Rahu, the extroverted illusion.
Rahu represents obsession, worldly desires, and the breaking of taboos. It is the hunger that can never be satisfied.
The physical description is wild. A smoky blue appearance. It resides in forests, is horrible, thievish, and is associated with snakes, leprosy, smallpox, elephant infections, and death. But then it also mentions dips and Ganga.
Rahu is the ultimate foreigner, the outsider, the Malecha. It represents extroversion, confusion, smog, and the planetary army. It wants to consume the material world. It creates illusions of grandeur.
And the dips in the Ganga River.
That reference is profound. It's about seeking purification for its endless, insatiable worldly sins.
So if Rahu is this smoggy foreign illusion, how does that map to an avatar? The text maps it to the Varaha or boar avatar of Vishnu.
Well, in the myth, a demon dragged the earth down into the chaotic, muddy depths of the cosmic ocean. Vishnu took the form of a massive boar, dived into the muck, and lifted the earth out on his tusks. Rahu dives into the muck of material existence. It is willing to get dirty.
Its matrix profile says it is pure tamasic illusion. It rules the southwest, smog, the gemstone gomed or hessonite, and multicolored robes. Medically, it governs Vat, the wind, and is associated with the foot and respiratory tract.
It creates psychological wind, anxiety, racing thoughts, the frantic pursuit of more.
So what does this all mean for Ketu, its counterpart, the south node?
If Rahu is the extroverted mouth that constantly consumes but has no stomach, Ketu is the introverted tail that releases. Ketu is the giver of salvation, or moksha.
The text describes Ketu with words like mona, which means silence, seclusion, poverty, snakes, wounds, debts. It's an introvert. It is associated with insipid food, undiagnosed diseases, and torn clothes. Again, much like Saturn, this sounds absolutely terrifying on a practical level.
It does. But we have to look at the why. Ketu represents detachment. Where Rahu forces you to engage with the illusion of the material world, Ketu's job is to sever your attachments to it.
So it takes things away.
Yes.
Yes.
That severing can feel like loss, poverty, or a bizarre, undiagnosed illness that forces you to stop working. But its ultimate goal is spiritual liberation.
So it's tough love.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Think about a time in your life when you lost a job or a long-term relationship ended. At the time, it felt like the world was ending, like pure devastation.
Yeah.
But maybe 2 years later, you realize that loss completely freed you to find your true purpose, or to discover who you actually are outside of those labels. That is Ketu operating.
Removing the material to reveal the spiritual, its guna is tamasic, representing confusion but also finality. It's associated with fog, the gemstone cat's eye. And interestingly, the text says its metal is actually just jiva, implying living entities or a deeper spiritual essence rather than a hard metal.
Because Ketu doesn't care about metals or material wealth. It cares about the essence of the soul.
Its avatar mapping is the Matsya, the fish avatar, who guided the arc of humanity through the great cosmic deluge. It's also associated with the deity Ganesha, the remover of obstacles.
Which is brilliant because true spiritual beginning requires the ending of material illusion. Ganesha is the Lord of beginnings, and Ketu brings the ultimate beginning by forcing an ending.
It is just incredible to step back and look at this entire structure. The sheer, overwhelming complexity of this classification matrix, it literally leaves no stone unturned.
It is a holistic, interwoven map of reality.
Every single detail connects to a broader system. Look at the metals. The pure soul of the sun is copper, the emotional moon is pearl, the abundant Jupiter is gold, the enduring Saturn is iron. Look at the clothing. The sun wears coarse clothes, Venus wears durable, beautiful, multicolored clothes, Saturn wears dirty rags, and Ketu wears torn clothes because he's completely detached from how he looks.
It's all connected.
Even the environments make psychological sense. Mercury's in sports grounds and libraries, Jupiter is in treasuries, Venus is in the bedroom.
And these categorizations are not just poetic. They are highly practical in application, especially when we look at how Jyotish intersects with Ayurvedic medicine.
Right, because you aren't just looking at psychology. If you understand that the sun is pitta, or bile, and it governs the heart and bones.
And you see Saturn, which governs Vat, or wind, and the joints, and the process of aging.
You can start to see how someone using this system would interpret a clash between the sun and Saturn in a specific nakshatra. It's not just a psychological conflict between authority and reality.
No, not at all.
It might literally translate to a physical issue, like inflammation in the joints or issues with bone density, because the fiery pitta of the sun is clashing with the cold, airy vat of Saturn.
Exactly. It completely links the macrocosm of the stars to the microcosm of human physiology and psychology, and underlying all of it, constantly turning the wheel, is the evolution of the soul, through the three gunas.
The purity, truth, and equilibrium of sattva, carried by the sun, the moon, and Jupiter.
The dynamic, passionate, desire-driven action of rajas in Mercury and Venus.
And the heavy, grounding, instinctual, and sometimes destructive inertia of tamas in Mars, Saturn, Rahu, and Ketu.
It is a complete, self-sustaining psychological ecosystem.
Yeah.
You need the rajasic desire of Venus to propel you forward and make you care about life. You need the tamasic discipline and harsh reality of Saturn to keep you grounded and build endurance. And you need the sattvic wisdom of Jupiter to guide your ultimate direction.
We have journeyed a massive distance today, all the way from the 360-degree mathematical precision of the chakra, calculating the exact 13-degree and 20-minute neighborhoods of the Nakshatras, and finally stepping into the living rooms of the planetary lords themselves.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is. From the honey-colored eyes of the sun, to the green grass intellect of Mercury, to the torn clothes of Ketu.
But it fundamentally changes how you perceive your own internal rhythms.
Yeah.
The next time you feel a sudden surge of ambition, a flash of fiery anger, or a deep, heavy desire to just isolate yourself from the world, ask yourself, are these just your own random moods? Or are you simply experiencing the cosmic weather of the 9 Grahas playing out their ancient archetypes through the vessel of your own mind and body?
I don't think I'll ever look up at the night sky the same way again. It really isn't a random smattering of stars. It's a meticulously organized clock, and we are the hands ticking along with it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. Keep looking up and keep looking inward.